All right, good morning. Today we are going to be on Psalm 91. But before we do that, I just want to thank all those of you who will be watching this on YouTube, plus all those of you who are here. And you know, the world has gone crazy with fear about this virus thing that's going around. And I was just seeing, the Facebook postings, and I have to say that it's kind of ridiculous if you have 20,000 rolls of toilet paper saved up. I think it is not necessary. You probably will never get to use 20,000 rolls of toilet paper. You just don't have enough in you to use all of it, all right? And then there's this other guy who has 17,500 hand sanitizers stored in his garage. Yeah, and it's called a hand sanitizer. You don't bathe in it. Because people have gone crazy, so they buy everything in bulk. People buy everything and then they stock up everything. You will never get to use all of it. Then, of course, the latest is people will buy up every piece of dried food, canned food, pasta. They buy everything, clean out the stores, and and so of course other people cannot get anything. So there's only so many canned beans you can eat before you get sick of canned beans, and then you got another 10,000 cans left over. What are you going to do with those 10,000 cans of canned beans? It's gone crazy. So, but I have news for you. That's how the world reacts to something which they don't understand. That's what is called fear. This is what happens. Let us say a person who doesn't believe in Jesus or anything. You go into a store, all right? You go into Walmart, you go into Hannaford's, you go into one of these big stores, and you just want to buy a couple of things. You walk in and you see other people buying everything. So let us say you are in the canned bean section and you see people buying hundreds of cans of canned bean. You just want to buy two. But because they are buying 200, they start to influence you. And you start to look at your two cans and you say this is not enough because the other guy is buying 200. So what happens to your buying behavior? Come on. This is called the herd mentality. If all the herd is going this way, you go the same way. So you start to buy 50 cans. Even though you don't need it and you don't want it and you don't even believe in it and you don't even eat beans, but you will buy 50 just because the other guy is buying 200. Then the person coming next to you will buy another 50. Everybody buys everything because everybody is operating out of fear. So you just follow one another because you don't have something to hold on to. You cannot hold on to Jesus because you don't have him. So out of fear, everybody starts and it becomes a snowball effect. And throughout the whole country now, people don't have toilet paper, people do not have hand sanitizer, people do not have pasta or canned beans, simply because the world has gone crazy. And this is not something new. This has happened before time and time again. This fear factor has happened time and time again, even in the Bible. All right? So today I'm going to start telling you a story. Then I'm going to give you the solution for what to do during these times. All right? So let's start with the story. Now, I need to give you a little bit of background first before we jump into Psalm 91. Here is the background. In the Old Testament times, all right, the Israelites have a high priest. Okay, the high priest is the one who prays and brings the people, all the Israelites to God. All right, so he presents the people to God. But before he can do that, he himself must be acceptable to God. So it's a very simple process. if the high priest is not acceptable to God, then the people that he is going to bring to God are also not acceptable. So the high priest has the highest position in the land, in the sense that he presents the nation of Israel to God. All right? So in this particular case that we are going to talk about, the high priest at that time, his name was Eli. Eli was not a good high priest. All right? He and his two sons abused the office of the high priest. All right? His two sons were also working in the temple and the tabernacle in the temple, and therefore they were rejected by God. So Eli and his two sons were rejected by God. So once the high priest is rejected by God, what's the logical follow-up? The people are also rejected by God. All right? So now, the Jewish people went out to war against the Philistines. All right? The Philistines were real warriors. They conquered huge territories. But the Israelites believed that because they had the power of God behind them, they will win. So they went out to fight and they lost. The Israelites lost. So they said, they came back and they had like one of those debriefings. And they said, how come we lost so badly? And somebody said, well, that's because we didn't have the Ark of the Covenant with us when we went to battle. So somebody says, wow, that's a great idea. Why don't we go get this Ark of the Covenant, which signified the presence of God, all right? As you know very well, the Ark of the Covenant is just a chest, okay? It's inlaid with gold, so that means it's gold covered, but it's just a chest, all right? As we talk about many times, the Ark is a symbol of Jesus. So they said, why don't we bring the Ark with us, so when we go to battle, this is in their mind, all right? This Ark is like magic. If we bring this Ark with us, we will win. We lost because we didn't have the Ark with us. So they brought the Ark out of a place called Shiloh, all right? Now remember what I just gave you some background on. The high priest, was he accepted or rejected by God? Eli. He was rejected. So if he was rejected, that means the people are now rejected. So they thought the Ark was magic. You have the Ark, you will win the war. But not realizing that God had already rejected Eli, and therefore the people are rejected. All right? So now there is no point in bringing the Ark. But they, believing that the Ark was magic, brought the Ark. And they went back to war with the Philistines. And now there was a massacre of them. All right? Tens of thousands of them died. All right? We're not going to read the whole story, of course, because that's not our emphasis here. And you have already gone through this at some other messages. But the main thing was there was a massacre. And not only was there a massacre, the Philistines so much defeated the Israelites that they now took the Ark away with them. Because the Israelites lost completely with the Ark going before them. All right? Now you may ask me, well, what did Eli and his sons did in the temple? You see, Eli and his sons abused the people. They abused the women in the temple. They abused their position. All right? It sounds very much like a Me Too movement. All right? They really abused the people with the law. The sons used the women. They would beat up the people. All right? And that was what happened with Eli and the two sons. So God rejected them. As a consequence of that, the people got rejected. Now they lost the ark. Now think about that for a while. There was great fear, great consternation. The people didn't know what to do. And so it was a time of complete confusion in Israel. Okay? So about that time too, they asked for a king. So they had King Saul as their king. King Saul was a leader who really didn't care much about God at all. So during his reign, remember the ark was gone. The ark symbolizing Jesus was gone. King Saul was the king of Israel. And he didn't care, actually he didn't care 2 cents, about whether the ark was there or not there. In other words, as a leader, he said, I don't really care whether Jesus is here or not here. I don't care. So there was wars. He was warring with David. There were campaigns to kill him. Saul wanted to kill David. All right. Lots and lots of mayhem, chaos, complete chaos within the people of God, within the nation. Fear. People don't know what to do. Now think about that for a second. This was a nation called by God. Called by God. God says to them, I'm going to bless you. And they rejected that as well. They wanted the law. And now it was a time of complete confusion. Ark was gone. King Saul didn't care whether it was there or not. And at the same time, don't forget about all those priests who were in the land. Remember the priests? They always had priests. What do priests do at that time? They didn't have the temple, but they had a tabernacle. All right? What do priests do? So the priests would continue to function as priests. So what do priests do in those times? They will accept sacrifices. So let us say you want to bring a lamb. They say, of course you can bring your lamb. So they will still do the sacrifices. They will do all of that things. Sacrifices, washing. They love to wash. They wash their hands. They wash their feet. They wash. They will keep the fire alight. There was a light that has to be perpetually kept alight in the tabernacle. So keep the light lighted. How about the showbread? There was bread. There was a showbread table. You got to keep the bread there. So let's do that as priests. So the priests would do this work continuously. And all the while, the presence of God, the Ark of the Covenant, Jesus was not there. Are you all getting me so far? So, we'll do the sacrifices, we'll do the bread, we'll keep the light, we'll do the washing, we will take the blood, we will do all the things as priests, but Jesus is not there. Now, something is wrong, right? So when all this chaos is going on, when all this panic, when people are fighting, you see, people didn't know what to do. So the Ark of the Covenant was gone from Israel. And if you read the Bible carefully, some places it says 20 years, and some places it could mean more than 20 years. All right? So it was a very long time whereby everybody was doing things without Jesus being there. Now, think about this. I just told you the panic going on in the world today due to the virus. As Christians, many times, because we do not know who we are, because for so long we have been doing something else, that now, when the world is panicking, we panic together with them. So remember the herd mentality? So the world goes this way, we go with them. So they buy 10,000 rolls of toilet paper, we buy 10,000. And very soon, there's no more toilet paper. And we wonder why we do this. Why are we doing what they are doing? But we cannot help it because we come to church, we do everything that the church does, but many times without Jesus. I'll share with you something very personal. I've been to church for many years. So back in the early years, there used to be a lot of teaching from the Bible. Then somebody says, there's too much teaching from the Bible. We don't really want the Bible. We want something more practical. So back in the 70s to 80s, there came up this big thing in the church. It was called a spiritual warfare. So everything in the Bible was taken away, and we just focus on the principalities of the air fighting with angels and how Satan would fight with Jesus. So it was a whole 10 years there whereby we focus on warfare, spiritual warfare. All right? So people say, look, I'm being attacked. I'm being attacked. And so somebody says, but who's attacking you? Well, it must be the devil. It must be the demons. So there were lots of emphasis on that, not realizing that Scripture says the believer cannot be attacked by the evil one, meaning Satan. And the Scripture is very clear. The evil one cannot touch you. And anyway, the war is won. The war is won. But people began to focus on that part of Scripture, all right? So it was a lot of spiritual stuff at that time, which was good in a sense because, you are aware of the spiritual realm. But the bad thing was people were so much taught of that thing that so many people got sick of it and they said, it's too spiritual for me. All these demons and, fighting in the heavenly realms. Because, I live here, I have problems at work, I have problems at home. This was now in the 80s, all right? Later 80s to 90s. People say, I don't want this anymore. So they got rid of all of this spiritual stuff and they brought in practical stuff. The church will now teach only practical application stuff. So we got rid of the whole Bible. Now we get rid of the spiritual warfare, and now we are going to bring in only practical applications. When you teach from the Bible, you must teach us something practical. All right? And so they look around the church and they find out, okay, what's the weak thing about the church? What are the weaknesses in the church or in your life and so on? And somebody says, of course, it's leadership. Leadership in the church. For many years, leaders in the church, who are the pastors, who are the leaders? The pastors, they are the graduates from the Bible schools. So they would send kids to Bible school. They'll have 4 years, 6 years of Bible training, and sometimes they'll go for other advanced degrees. And when they come out, they become pastors. But they don't have any training in finances, in leading people. So it was considered a weakness in the church. So why not now teach these people leadership? So in the 90s, it started coming up, led by very well-known people, okay? People who meant really well. So it was a good area. Let's show up what we think the weakness of the church is. But the thing is this now. the church now started teaching people about what they learn from the business schools which come from the world. So now you bring the business world into the church. All right? So leadership, growth. How do you grow your church? Well, how does Pepsi and Coke become the number one leaders? So let's learn from the world. How did Nike become the world leader? And how are the leaderships? You see, how did Amazon become so big? So let's bring all this into the church. And some of them were very good principles. As I said, they were led by brilliant people, business people. Very good principles. But the problem was not the bringing in of these principles. The problem was when you bring in these principles, something else had to go. And Jesus was taken out. You see, these principles were good principles. How to be a good leader, how to lead well, how to interact between pastors and staff, how do you deal with the people, everything good. But there was so much emphasis on that Jesus was taken out. Remember, even the spiritual warfare, which came up in the 80s, that was also taken out. Everything was taken out. So now we have good business principles in the church. 90s, 2000, and almost until the last couple of years. It was all centered on, I remember reading books which says, the leadership principles of Jesus. So let's learn how Jesus led the people. So you will look at all the things which Jesus did in a business sense and let us copy how Jesus did. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. You want to lead a church well. But the thing was, it replaced Jesus himself. It replaced Jesus himself. So now we have this turning around in the last couple of years where people say, yes, I learned this in church, but I also learned this in the university, and the university teaches it better than you do. So why do I have to come to church to learn about business principles? I can learn it at the community college. I can learn it at the college level. I can learn it at the university level. And those professors over there, they have more degrees. They know it better than you as the pastor, who is just starting to learn all of this, and you're trying to teach us some of these principles. So then the people, now they are really, really searching for what the church should be like. But it hasn't turned around completely yet. So the people who are taught all these worldly good principles, when the world panics, they panic together with them. Because there's no other thing to look forward to. If the coronavirus is going to be, a worldwide end of the world pandemic sort of thing, so the whole world who doesn't know Jesus is out there panicking, so the church people panic together with them. Because all the people have learned in the last 20, 30 years is worldly principles. So now, panic is in the church. When people are looking for spiritual guidance, people say, I don't have anything for you. Man, leadership doesn't work in a crisis, in a time like this. Some things that you learn in the world does not apply when there is an event like this. You see, people learn how to deal with things. People learn what to do. But when a crisis hits like this, people cannot do anything. People have no solution for it. So the only thing left for them is that they go into panic as well, together with the rest of the world. So, back to our story. Ark was gone. Jesus was out. The Israelites, doing their own thing, priests doing their own thing. Everything was chaotic. Until one day, David said to all his chief ministers, because David now became king, replacing King Saul, and David said to his people, "Where is this Ark of the Covenant?" In other words, where is Jesus? We, the people of God, have no God. David is a New Testament grace person who lived in the Old Testament. Out of all the characters, all the people you read in the Old Testament, David is the one who exemplifies, who is the best example of a person living in grace. Because he really knows who Jesus is. And he's living in the Old Testament. Because he did so many sinful things, and then God talked to him, and he understood the unmerited favor coming from God to him. Because he was not, we're talking King David, all right? Many people think King David is the holiest person ever. No, he's committed sin after sin after sin after sin, even to murder. Not a very good person. But you see, because of his relationship with Jesus, with God, he said, "Where is the Ark of the Covenant?" And of course, now everybody has to find where it is. So they found it. All right, then they brought it back. They made mistakes. Okay, we talk about that some other time. And they brought it back, and now it's in the tabernacle. The tabernacle means a tent, all right, not the temple. The temple is the brick and mortar store. All right, remember? There is the online, and then there is the brick and mortar in our days. So in this case, there's the tabernacle in this particular story. There was the tabernacle. The tabernacle is a tent compared to the temple, which is built from the stones and mortar and whatever they used in those days. All right? So David brought the ark back, brought Jesus back, and put it in the tabernacle. Now, David is a king. He actually has no right to be in the presence of the Ark of the Covenant. But because of his relationship with Jesus, he did some very special things. Well, first of all, he offered offerings, which he's not supposed to do, because only the priests are supposed to do it. But remember, he is a New Testament person living in the Old Testament time. So he acts like a priest, which in Old Testament times is not supposed to be that way. All right? So now, are you getting the picture? So he asked for the ark, and the ark is now back in Jerusalem. It's like Jesus coming back. Okay, so now here's the question. What do you think David did with the ark? The ark which was gone is now back. Remember, there's all types of things going on at that time. So what is the solution? What is the solution for everything? Here is it. Psalm 91. This is David talking. All right? David wrote this psalm. And I want you to see what it says. Okay? Are you ready? He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. The Ark of the Covenant is a chest inlaid with gold, that means covered in gold. That's the chest. On top of the chest, they put the mercy seat, which is one slab of gold, all right? Complete, one slab, beaten And that's where you put the blood. All right, that's where the high priest puts the blood, on the mercy seat. The mercy seat sits on top the chest. And on top of the mercy seat, there are two cherubims, also in gold. And the cherubims, their wings face each other. All right? Are you all getting the picture here? So imagine a box, a chest, gold chest, covered on top by the mercy seat. The mercy seat is one thick slab of gold. All right? And on top of the mercy seat are the two cherubims with wings. The whole thing symbolizes Jesus, okay, as we discuss in another message. But look at what David does. He that dwells, okay, the Hebrew word is yashab, dwells, yashab. So David, yashab, what does that word means? All right, it's translated here, dwells. It means to live, to live, to remain there, to sit there. So David says, he, that means himself, because he's writing this psalm, he that lives there, remains there, sits there, in the secret place of the Most High. Where is this secret place? Shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. In the shadow of Jesus. How do you get the shadow of Jesus to be upon you? If you, come on, imagine the chest with the cherubims on top. Where do you think David is most of his time? Is he outside there somewhere? You know, he never comes near the ark. David is living, remaining, sitting, dwelling right next to the ark. He is actually in the shadow. He is so close that if sun comes on the ark, the shadow of the ark will be covering David. Think about it. He is a king and he is right next to the ark, which of course is a representation of Jesus. So, Jesus is covering David. Whew. Now, think about that for a second. Before you even read this psalm. What happens if you are that close to Jesus? What happens if Jesus is right next to you right now? That his shadow is cast over you. He that yashab, remain, not move away. He sits there. He remains there. He's the king. He's the king. He brought that ark back, puts in the tabernacle, and then he sits right there. Right next to the ark. Lunchtime comes. He's the king. He says, bring me my royal lunch. Dinner time rolls around. He says, bring me my dinner. Sits right there and he eats his food. Night time comes. It's time to go to bed. He's the king. Let's set up the royal pillows, the royal cloths, coverings, right there. And King David goes to sleep. We do not know this, but I'm sure he touched the ark. Now, why doesn't he get killed? Because when they were bringing the ark in, remember Uzzah got killed. Because David knows God as grace. David knows Jesus. Uzzah didn't. David knows how sinful he is. But his relationship to Jesus is he sleeps there. And then in the morning, when he wakes up, rubs his eyes. Oh, look, he's right beside the ark. He's right beside Jesus. He spends all day, all night, and he wakes up with Jesus by his side. That's his relationship with God. And he writes this down because he's writing, he's what do you think he's doing by the ark all day? He's probably singing, writing, and talking. He's conversing with Jesus. And then God talks to him back. So he's giving praise. He may not have a voice like Anthony, but in his own way, he'll be singing. Praise you. Lots of things happening in the kingdom, but without where he is, he will not be able to function properly. He will just behave like King Saul. That relationship with Jesus will make you behave differently. Okay, so he wrote this. He that remains in that secret place. He's in the secret place with Jesus' hands around him, embracing him. Of the Most High. Who is the Most High? Jesus, God himself, shall abide under the shadow. He is so close that the shadow falls on him. All right? Verse 2. I will say of the Lord. Okay, here comes now. Because now he's there. He's going to tell you exactly what he gets. He is my refuge and my fortress. Jesus is my refuge. Jesus is my fortress. In him will I trust. You see, when everybody is going crazy, you say to yourself, Jesus is my refuge. Not Walmart. Not Amazon. Jesus is my refuge. Jesus is my fortress. Fortress. Nobody is going to come and get me. Where shall I go when everybody else is panicking? I will go to Jesus. In him will I trust. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. Oh yes, there's a great sound of the coronavirus resounding all over the world because it's a pestilence, it's a plague, it's a virus. But it's not just about, oh yes, I'm not going to follow anything. I just don't care. The virus is not out there. No, of course it is out there. But you see, it's not about the fear of the virus. It's about Jesus will deliver me from any snares, from any pestilence. Yes, it's out there. And I'm going to take the proper precautions. and I'm going to do the right thing. But at the same time, this virus, this pestilence, this disease will not come upon me. Not because I'm better than anybody else, but because I am next to Jesus. Verse 4. Jesus shall cover me with his feathers. Where did these feathers come from? Where did the wings? Exactly. He was so close. He was right next to the ark. I don't think he used it as a pillow. The ark is made of gold. It's not so comfortable. But he was right next to it. He shall cover you with his feathers. Oh, look. The presence of God. The wings are covering me. And under his, come on, wings. What wings? He's not talking about chicken here. He's talking about the cherubim wings. You shall trust. His truth shall be your shield and your buckler. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day. Oh yes. Everything is flying all over the place. People are terrorized. Remember before the virus there were terrorists. People say, oh no, we cannot go out because the terrorists will shoot us. Now we cannot go out because the virus will get us. And after the virus will be some other thing. There will always be something in this world to terrorize you. But you shall not be afraid. Not be afraid. We don't, like I said, we want to take the precautions. We want to be smart. If you're sick, stay at home. Okay? Don't come here. Don't come to church and infect another 100 people. Some bigger churches, you infect 1,000 people. Don't do that. But at the same time, when you're in the presence of Jesus, don't be afraid for the terror. People cannot sleep. People are worried. People say, is this the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world. All right? Yes, some people will catch it. Yes, it's not going to be easy for many people, especially older people. All right? But at the same time, realize who you are. You may be old chronologically, as I told you many times, but Jesus protects you. You have something which other people your age don't have. You have Jesus. Verse 6. Nor for the, come on, once again, pestilence, this disease that walks in darkness, nor for the destruction that wastes at noonday. All right? All these diseases, pestilence, they've always been there. The plagues from the Middle Ages, which we now can cure, but now we have new ones, which we do have no cure. Not yet. Nor for the destruction that wastes at noonday. Look at it, verse 7. 1,000 shall fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come close to you. 1,000 shall fall over there. Yes, 1,000 already fell. 10,000 will fall over there. Yes, 10,000 fell over there. But it shall not come near you. It is not coming near you because you have something that the world and other people do not have, which is you are in the shadow of Jesus. You are in the shadow of Jesus. And he covers you. And where his covering is, no pestilence will come. Take precautions. Do the right thing. Wash your hands. Cover your face. Do all of that. Stay home if you are sick. But remember, you are not going to die from this. And many of you, you will never catch it. With your eyes you shall behold and see the reward of the wicked. But because you have made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, your habitation. That's your habitation. You are going to live there. Therefore, verse 10, there shall no evil befall you, neither shall any what? Plague come nigh, come close to your dwelling place. Everybody is panicking. You are staying with Jesus. And you say, and you claim, and you say this again, no evil will befall me, neither will any plague come near my dwelling place. In my house, no dwelling. Yes, people are panicking, your neighbors. And sometimes you hear, oh, my neighbor died. But no plague will come to my house. Verse 11, for he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. He shall bear you up in your hands. He will provide for you. He will protect you. He will help you. He will bear you up. The angels will bear you up in their hands, because your foot is not even going to dash against a stone. You shall tread upon the lion and adder, the young lion and the dragon you shall trample under your feet. All these are symbols of Satan, fear brought by Satan. You shall step upon them. Verse 14, because he had set his love upon me, therefore will I deliver him. I will set him on high. Now this is, remember I told you, David talks to the ark, who is a representation of Jesus. And then Jesus talks back. Because he has set his love upon me, Jesus says. Therefore I will what? Deliver him. I will set him on high. So not only are you protected and provided for, Jesus is going to put you on high. He has known my name. He called me Jesus. He shall call upon me and I will answer him. So when you talk to Jesus, Jesus will, come on, answer you. Jesus is not dumb. He's not a dumb God. You talk to God and God says, I'm dumb, I cannot speak. When you call upon Jesus, he will answer you. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and I will honor him. So not only does he give you everything else, he will put you on high and he will honor you during this time. Look at verse 16. Claim verse 16. With, come on, long life. I am going to satisfy you with long life. Jesus is going to satisfy you with long life. You are going to have a satisfying long life. Virus? Never mind. You got a bad report from the doctor? Never mind. Yes, you're going to take your medicines. Yes, you're going to follow all of those procedures. But you are not going to die. You are going to have a satisfying and long life because you are in the shadow of Jesus. That's where you live. That's where you remain. That's when you eat. That's where you wake up. That's when you go to sleep. Every part of your day, when you go to work, when you're driving the truck, when you are driving the school bus, when you are working as the teacher, when you are doing your business, wherever you are, when you are the CEO of the corporation, wherever you are the professor, you are, whatever you do, there you are with Jesus, living under his shadow. With long life, promise from God, will I satisfy him. Long life. Long life to you. Long life to you. Long life to you. Will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. Look at the benefits of being next to Jesus. There is nothing else. Everybody can be picnicking, people on the left, people on the right, and you beside Jesus. Enjoying honor. He will put you up. You actually advance. Everybody is saying, ah! And God says, yes, you, my son, my daughter, I'm going to put you on high. I'm going to honor you. You are protected. You are provided for. Don't worry. Don't stock up 50,000 cans of beans. And you do not need 10,000 rolls of toilet paper. Of course, buy some. Be smart. But not 10,000 rolls. And 18,000 bottles of hand sanitizer. You don't bathe in it. If you can, get a few bottles. Wash your hands. Do the right thing as what the authorities suggest. But don't panic. It's not the end of the world. This pestilence, this plague, is not going to come on you. And even if you catch it, it's not going to kill you. You will have a long life. And not just a long life, a satisfying long life. You see, long life in the hospital bed, like a vegetable, that's not what God gives to you. It's a satisfying long life. What a good God we have. Let's get back to verse 1 again. And all because of verse 1 here. He that Yashab, dwell, live, remain, sit there in the secret place. It's not so secret because we know what it is. It's Jesus. Of the Most High. The Most High. There is nobody higher than Jesus. You sit back. Jesus is right there with you. And you say, I'm going to remain here. During this period, I'm going to remain with you. And when I go to work, I'm still going to remain with you because you're coming with me, right, Jesus? You will not leave me. You're not going to forsake me just because I go to work. Rest there. Sleep there. Eat there. Wake up there. With Jesus. Shall abide under the shadow of Jesus. Wow. Yes, there will be chaos. But we do not know the meaning of that word. We look around and we say, why are they picnicking? Why is that person stocking up his whole garage? Why is that person doing that? Or why are my Christian brothers and sisters doing that? But for you, you Yashab, remain with Jesus in his shadow. Lean on his breast. Take and receive from him refuge, fortress, protection, spiritual, physical, everything. Receive it. Jesus, you give me everything.